What's up, everybody? It is Dan Cam, and I am back with another video. And what I'm going to be doing today is a day in the life. So a lot of you guys have been asking me what my daytime job is and what I do to pay the bills. And if you already didn't know, I am an auto mechanic for a Toyota dealership. So I went ahead and filmed an average work day for me. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into it. Yo, what's up, guys? It is 5 in the morning, and I was going to film myself getting out of bed like every other day in the life you see, but it is absolutely pitch black outside right now, so you won't be able to see anything, and my girlfriend's still sleeping. So now I'm going to feed my two cats, and I'm going to get my coffee started, and usually I spend about 30 minutes of the day at the beginning scrolling and reading YouTube comments I missed while I was sleeping, and just basically all of social media stuff. So I couldn't really get it on film, but my cat Fred constantly screams at me while I'm preparing his food. And now I'm about to take it out, so let's see if he does it. Come on, Fred. By the way, the cat's favorite toys: plastic bags from Costco. That's their food from yesterday. Let's go ahead. Daphne's a little bit trickier to get to start eating. Fred will absolutely jump on his food right away, but occasionally Daphne will come over and grab it, but usually she just sits there. Come on. Come on. Good girl. And of course, Fred's eyeballing her, because he's probably going to eat her food later. Alright, so I'm finally at work, and it is now time for some breakfast. Alright, so what does breakfast consist of? Some hard-boiled eggs, nice little apple, banana, and a few Snap Crisps. And then I'll save these for later as a nice little snack. But the breakfast of champions. And if you're ever curious as to what tools I use, the way I do it, every technician does it differently, but I actually have this big cart from Harbor Freight, and then I basically leave out every tool that I would basically need to work on a Toyota. Everything from some wobblies over here, like we got a 14, 17, 19, super common, 10, 12, 14, 17, 19. These are for removing crank pulleys on harmonic balancers for Toyotas. And then I also have a 22, which is common. And then these are for like axle nuts. All these three. This is a super common Toyota axle nut size. It's a 30 millimeter. And then I have all sockets I regularly use. And these two are extremely common. This is a magnetic 10. It's a snap-on. And a magnetic 12, which is really cool because bolts and nuts stick in here so you don't drop them when you're trying to put them in. And all pliers I use. Wrenches I use, torque wrenches. This is one of my favorite tools right here. This is a 3/8 digital snap-on torque wrench. And then also a 1/4-inch snap-on. This guy is used a whole lot. One of my favorite tools too. And I got some screwdrivers over here. My little impact. My air impacts. Cutoff wheel. Yeah, but this is basically everything you need to work on a Toyota. And then anything else I keep in my toolbox over here. So here is the first car of the day. So this car came in yesterday and their complaint was that it had a check engine light. And it's got a bank, I think 2 O2 sensor code, the post O2 sensor, so the second one in line on that side of the exhaust. And what happened was something actually got caught in their drive shaft and it slung over and it actually broke the O2 sensor. So I'm going to pull it in and then let's get this O2 sensor out. And then the service advisor also upsold the differential service. So basically I'm going to replace out the front differential, transfer case fluid, and the rear differential fluid. So let's bring it in, let's start it. All right, so here I am pulling into the shop, and each of the line technicians has their own stall, while all of the lube technicians, they all share 4 racks. And then our shop's a little tight, especially when there's a car in each stall, so we have to 3-point turn our way into the stall to make sure the car or truck is straight so we can rack it properly. And here I'm pulling it in and making sure it's straight between the 2 poles. And normally we do a light check to make sure all of our rear lights are okay and our front lights, but this car's already been looked at. So I'm just going to go ahead and get it lifted up. And Lynn here is our hourly OG tech. He's been working for Toyota for a very long time. And he already looked at this car yesterday and saw that the O2 sensor is bad. So he basically recommended the work. It got sold. And then now I'm just coming in to replace the part in question. And I'll go ahead and show you that later. It's totally bent. But here I am removing the skid plate, and then I start off with removing all of the drain and fill plugs for the differentials and letting those drain out. All right, so I'm still working on the 4Runner, but I got pulled off to look at another car, and they were complaining of overheating, and it turns out their water pump is leaking, but we do not have the parts, so the car is being held until Monday. We are closed Sundays, so for now I'm just going to pull this vehicle out and then park it, and then we'll get the parts Monday, and then we'll replace the water pump then. So now I'm back to the 4Runner, and here's what a normal O2 sensor should look like, and here was the one on the car. So you can see why the check engine light came on. So I'm going to get rid of this bad boy and just give it a little chuck. And then there's the new one. So I'm just going to go ahead and thread that in, and it takes a 22mm wrench to get it tightened. Then the plug is basically right on the transmission, so I got that in. Now I'm filling up the rear diff, and we've got a machine that pushes the fluid in, and you basically fill it up until it's trickling out of each differential. So now I'm going to go through and tighten all of them, and then I go through with some brake clean and make sure they're all cleaned up and nothing's dripping off of them. Put the skid plate back up. Gonna lower the car down. And that's it for this one. All right, so I went ahead and parked the 4Runner after clearing the check engine light, and that one was all good. And then I parked the Sequoia that has a leaking water pump, and we're waiting parts for that. And the next car is a Corolla, and they're complaining of Bluetooth issues. So hopefully there is a radio software update for it, which is usually the most common fix for these. And then it also has a scraping noise, so I'm going to go ahead and test drive it and see what kind of noises this thing is making, if I can duplicate it. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's test drive this and pull it back in the shop. All right, so I checked on Toyota Information System, and there was an update for this radio. So to do this, you basically leave the car running and you insert your USB drive that has the update file on it, and you basically just let it update while it's running. So while that's going on, I'm going ahead and topping off all their fluids. Actually, I believe the car was off at this point, because there's no way I would remove the air filter box if the car was running. And here I am changing the cabin filter. And then basically I'm just going to do an inspection. And I didn't hear any kind of scraping sound on the test drive. So I'm just checking all the normal stuff like brakes, make sure nothing's rubbing. And I couldn't verify it, so I basically checked the brakes, and the brakes were good. Then here I am just tightening down all of the wheels after rotating the tires. I'm going to go ahead and put the hubcaps back on. I have a torque stick that torques them all to 80 foot-pounds. There I am, mean mugging the camera. Fast forward, here comes Lynn, talking me up a storm while I'm trying to work like usual. And this one was an oil change. It actually had a CVT transmission service. So basically I'm going to drain out as much fluid as I can and then fill it and then check it through a temperature check. So the software update fixed the Corolla, and I went ahead and finished the service. I cleaned the engine bay, and I went and test drove it to make sure everything was okay. So that one's all finished, and now I'm moving on to a newer generation Tacoma. And what I'm doing with this one is there's a very large recall going on right now for multiple Toyota models, and it's for the fuel pump. So what I have to do is lower the gas tank and pull out the fuel pump module and then replace the fuel pump itself. And then it also has a humming noise that's heard at 50 miles an hour. So I'm going to go out and test drive it right now and see if I hear anything, and then pull it in, check it out, and replace the fuel pump. All right, so I test drove this thing for a good 5 to 10 miles, and I couldn't verify any kind of humming. The thing with this one is it does have a camper shell, and here's me acting like a goofball and playing too much Call of Duty. But I couldn't verify any humming. But what happens with these camper shells is any noise from the back end of the vehicle kind of echoes through the camper shell. So I didn't hear anything abnormal. So I basically went and talked to the service advisor and tried to get more information about exactly when it happens. Is it a new noise? And basically any info I can get. But basically at this point, we're just going to let the customer monitor it and see if it gets worse. But here I am about to start the fuel pump. And I have a tank jack. So this supports the tank while I'm lowering it down. These Tacomas are a pain for this recall. And then here's me acting a fool once again. Playing too many sword fighting games like Ghost of Tsushima. Man, just acting a fool like always at work. But trying to keep it entertaining, you know? So these are a pain. So you kind of have to lower it down a little bit, get all the connections. And then once the connections are free, you could you can get the tank down. And then we have a special tool to loosen it. And right here, it just takes some big muscles. And you best believe I grunted while doing that too. Got that loose. Got to show off the guns. Once again, acting a fool. So I got the fuel pump module out. And then basically the pump inside this is what we're replacing. So loosen all the electrical connectors and then remove the filter sock from the bottom. And it went by super fast, but that was the bad pump. Here's the good one. And you got to transfer over a few items from the old pump. Then put the pump in, put the sock back on, the filter sock, and then put all your connections. And I check it multiple times to make sure it's okay. Now I'm going to put it back in, and we use a new tightening ring and a gasket for every recall. And then I'm putting the fuel lines back on that are connected to the tank. And here I'm just putting on some Sil Glide, which makes the lines, it helps them go on much easier. So I'm going to jack it up, and then right here I put the connection for the fuel pump, the electrical connection. And getting the filler neck, so basically where you fill up gas, the tube that leads down to the tank is a pain in the butt to get these to reattach. So It takes some time, and this is sped up, but this one fought me a little bit. It took me a good 5 minutes to get it back on. But then I secured the straps for the tank, and I was able to move the jack, and now I'm just connecting the fuel lines and making sure everything's plugged back in. And then just doing some cleaning, and then always double checking my work. And then I'm going to zap the wheel back on. And that's it for this one. And I also pulled the Sequoia out right there. Yo, it's lunchtime, and what am I doing for lunch? We're going with the little Freshly take and microwave box. Delicious. And no, this is not sponsored by Freshly, but hey, Freshly, look at your boy. He's representing Freshly. Sign him up. Sign him up. And what's on the menu today? Oh, we got the savory sweet chicken teriyaki with brown rice and veggies. Look at that yummy goodness. So the Tacoma fuel pump is all done. I did an evap self-check to make sure there were no issues at the end. And I went ahead and reported the recall to Toyota. Now I'm moving on to a first generation Tundra. And it's got 2 recalls on it. One of them is replacing the passenger side airbag assembly. And then also replacing the center airbag ECU. And this one does have a check engine light on it, so I'm going to scan it and see what it is, and then try to recommend the needed repair and go from there. All right, so now I'm starting the next job, and I always start with the airbag on these, and it's pretty simple to remove on most of these, but there is the assembly, and I loosen it from the dash piece. And then with these, you have to scan the old airbag and the new airbag because Toyota keeps track of everything. And this one's an assembly. So basically I just slap a whole new assembly in and then put it back in. But some of them you just replace the inflator. So I get the airbag back in. And then this one has the center airbag ECU. And here I am blocking the camera with my beautiful Makita drill. Makita Impact. So here I am doing the center airbag ECU, and you basically just have to remove the center console. Then once the center console is removed, you'll see the ECU, and you just remove the connection, remove 4 bolts, and it comes right out. So there's the old one. Show it real quick. There's the new one. Head back into the car and get it bolted in. And these are really, really common. I probably do at least 1 to 2 airbags a day. And recalls are really, really big right now, so it's keeping me busy. And during my inspection, I also found that the water pump's actually leaking. So you see that pink crust towards the bottom? So this thing actually had a factory timing belt and water pump. And you can see this water pump's actually been leaking for a while. So I told the service advisor in hopes that he would sell it. So that's going to do it for the workday, guys. I got the passenger side airbag assembly done. I got the center airbag ECU done. And the customer approved doing the water pump. And with those, it's driven off the timing belt. So I'll be replacing the timing belt too. So basically, I've got 2 water pump jobs to tide me over on Monday. And just to explain kind of how a flat rate technician gets paid. So let's take the water pump and timing belt, for example. So we charge 5.5 hours to replace a water pump and a timing belt on a 4.7 Tundra or Sequoia. So if I finish the timing belt in 5.5 hours, I get paid 5.5. If I finish it in 2.5, I get paid 5.5. But at the same time, if I finish it in 10 hours, just say something goes wrong and I break a component while taking everything apart, or there's a lot of variables to consider when with flat rate, and it takes me 10 hours, so I'll only get paid 5.5. So developing ways on going quicker and repetition are all keys on being a flat rate technician. So like today, I think I only made about 6 or 7 hours. But on Monday, I've got 2 water pumps lined up, which is 11 hours of work. So I should be able to bang both those out on Monday with no problem, and then maybe have time for another job or two. We'll see how quick I can get them done, and I've done probably hundreds of 4/7 timing belts, so that should be no problem. But yeah, it's all about figuring out little shortcuts and ways of doing things quicker and having the right tools. And And also here is a sneak peek on how to install a timing belt on a 4/7 Tundra. It's honestly that easy. Boom. So now that we're done for the day, I'm going to go ahead and get cleaned up, and then we're going to head home, and then we're going to make dinner because I am starving. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a little bit when I get home. So I am finally home from work, and usually the first thing I do is I get changed up and cleaned up. So I already did that. So what I'm gonna do now is I have an inversion table, and I'm standing on concrete all day in boots, and I walk sometimes up to 15,000 steps a day. So I like to decompress my spine a little bit with my inversion table, and then my girlfriend is gonna be leaving work in about 20 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make dinner. So by the time she gets here, it'll be ready. So let's go ahead and head back to the inversion table, and then let's go ahead and start prepping for dinner. So for dinner tonight, we use a company called HelloFresh, and we're making some Southwest stuffed zucchini boats. So, hey, HelloFresh, support your boy. I ain't sponsored, but I could be. So the way HelloFresh works is you pick 3 meals or more, and they basically send you out the ingredients for them, and then you put it all together, and they give you the right amount of measurements, so you don't need to measure anything. And this one was simple. It's just some veggies, some ground beef, rice, and then zucchini. Then you put it all together on top of the zucchini and you bake it. Oh, and there's my girlfriend home from work. I'll introduce her in a second. But yeah, HelloFresh is super easy, especially if you work a busy schedule. So dinner is ready, and here is the final result. Yum, yum. So we are done with dinner, and it was delicious. And I know a lot of you guys have been asking for the girlfriend reveal. So here she is. This is my wonderful girlfriend, Bryn. Say hello, Bryn.
Hello, Bryn.
How do you do?
Good.
Wonderful.
I'm so glad to meet all of your subscribers.
They are all fantastic people, and they should be honored to meet you.
Great.
Wonderful. And then check out our wonderful stockings behind us.
They're very cute.
I
bought them at Target.
She buys everything at Target.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored, but Target. Hey, if you're watching this video, hook my girl
Hook
up.
me up. All right, this is our nighttime routine. Danny, Kitty. Oh.
I got it.
Okay. Oh, good one, Daph. Ooh.
You ready?
There we go. There's a good one.
So after throwing the mouse for Daphne for a few rounds, we'll usually lay in bed and scroll through our phones and look at social media and talk for a bit. But Bryn and I both work pretty early in the morning, so usually we go to sleep pretty early. And I had just come off working 4 days in a row, so I'm usually pretty tired. And the next day after that is more of a rest day. So I'll usually go to sleep early, and I like to wake up early, even on my days off, but usually between like 6 and 7. But I usually need 8 to 9 hours of sleep. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took some time to make, so please give it a like rating if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you are new. And yeah, once again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one, and I hope you guys have a great day.